Ever wanted to join on your table saw? Well, today I'm going to show you how. We're going to build this friction fit jointer fixture that will ride on your existing fence. So stay with us. Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Rockin' H Woodshop. I am your host, Drew Short. Now, if you saw my last episode, I did several jigs that I have kept throughout the shop that were really versatile. And I got a lot of inquiries about this jointer fence that I really didn't take the time to rebuild. And after I gave it quite a bit of thought, I thought you can't joint plywood on a standard jointer. And I do remember using this a lot to make sure that my edges of my plywood were good and true and straight. And I jointed them on this fence. So, without further ado, we're going to build this nice jointing fence fixture to go on the existing fence that I have on my table saw. So, let's get started. Now, before we make any kind of cuts whatsoever, we're going to talk a little bit about shop safety. Be sure to read, understand, and follow all the instructions that come with these power tools that you use in your shop. Knowing how to use them the right way will reduce the risk of injury to yourself. Make sure that you wear hearing protection and a good pair of safety glasses, preferably the kind that kind of wrap around the side of your face. Now we're just going to get started by measuring the length of the fence and then cutting a piece of plywood that's oversized in width and length for that side of the fence. Okay, I had a piece of scrap that was left over from my I believe it was from my spline cutting jig, because this one is a little bit wider than the fence itself, and remember in that jig I had to accommodate 32nd of an inch bigger. Let's go ahead and run this through, and this will be our top section of our fence. Now after cutting the piece, just set it on top of your fence and then measure the height from the tabletop to the top of that piece of wood. This will give you the thickness of the board that's going to go on the opposite side of the fence. Go ahead and cut it to size. Now go ahead and cut it to length, making sure to accommodate the end caps on either end of that board. We are going to set up the crosscut sled with a stop block at 4 inches, which is the width of the fence. And we're going to cut 2 end caps. Now let's do a test fit. If everything looks good, take your ink pen and just scribe you a line on the back side of your sacrificial part of your fence. Mark X's on the side of the line that you're going to put screws, and then make reference marks on the other 2 pieces for reference lines on screws as well. Go ahead and fit your end caps and make reference marks for the drill holes there. Now just take a brad point bit and run it through pre-drilling for all your screws. Line up everything, clamp it up, and then screw it all together. Now just pre-drill the holes for the sacrificial part of the fence, get it nice and set up, and drilled into position. Now just go ahead and screw your end caps in. Okay, now we have the makings of our joiner fence. It is fully enclosed on both ends, so it's a nice snug fit around the fence, and it's a good tight fit overall on the fence for that friction fit. So it's very easy to get in place, and it's nice and square because of these end cappers. It's has a good 90-degree angle with the fence. So I'm very pleased with how that turned out. What there is to do now is we have to make a relief to go on this half of the fence that's going to be just past the blade. What this will accommodate is the removed material, and we're going to do that as you can see on my prior fence. I took some plastic liner that came from some old x-ray material, but I don't have any more of this material, so what we're going to do is just a hardwood runner that's just been trimmed very thin from the table saw, and we're just going to glue it in place over this this half of the fence. What we need to do first to establish how far back we need it is just to run our saw blade up into our fence, kind of like the sacrificial fence, being careful not to hit any screws. And that will that will register our alcove that we need to start with, so we can lay our runner out. Now just glue your strip on the outfeed section of your fence. And whoever said that you couldn't use those insignificant little clamps? Well, here's a good use for them right here. Just make sure that the clamp nearest to the blade is at the very end, so you have a good tight fit. Then once it's dry, just saw off the end. Okay, and just like that, our fence is now finished. We got the hardwood strip here. In this case it's poplar, which isn't exactly hardwood, but it still works for the purposes that we need. And I just raised the blade up into the piece of wood to cut it down to size, and then I just flush trimmed it at the end, as you saw. And check for square, and to make this thing work, you just want to set the back side of your blade right flush with the hardwood strip that you put on here, and then it's going to remove that much material. However thick this hardwood strip is, it's going to remove that much material off of your board. So this is a very handy tool to have, especially with plywood, since you can't joint plywood on a standard jointer because it just tears out way too bad. Saw blade makes a nice clean joint. So I want to thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me. It's at rhwoodshop@gmail.com. And if you have any other questions, send me a comment wherever you view this video, whether it be YouTube or Blip, and I'll get back with you as soon as I can. So till next week, guys, take care.